Using the risk matrix diffuser, Cal becomes RISKMAN.
Welcome to the RISKMAN channel, the channel for entry-level GRC, IT audit, and cybersecurity professionals. We explain things on this channel in a language that's easy to understand. No complex jargon or anything like that. So let's get into it.
So we're going to discuss a little NIST 2.0 basics here, and this is for entry-level GRC, IT audit, and cybersecurity professionals. Now, there is a 1.0 version of NIST, and just to let you know that, and what we're going to cover now is the most recent version, which is the 2.0 version. And there are some differences between the two, so I'm going to let you know what those differences are and why NIST decided to make those changes to the 1.0 version. So if we look at what NIST is right now, just an overview of it, what it means, just so, because IT, we talk in acronyms and all of that stuff. So for those of you who don't know, it means the National Institute of Standards and Technology. It's a non-regulated federal agency within the U.S. Department of Commerce. That's where NIST resides. The primary mission or function of NIST is to provide a common security framework, which is called CSF, and you might often hear NIST referred to as NIST CSF. That's the Common Security Framework. There is another version of NIST, which is an SP version, which is a lot more detailed, but today we're going to cover the Common Security Framework, the CSF. And this includes guidelines and best practices for cybersecurity, and that's mainly what NIST is for. So if we do a basic breakdown of NIST, it's a voluntary set of cybersecurity standards and guidelines for businesses. Now these guidelines that are set here are very easy to implement with this new 2.0 version, but I must say that when you're implementing any framework, whether it's NIST or ISO or COVID or anything like that, you must understand what your your risk universe, what your whole environment looks like prior to implementing any kind of framework. And you want to do a gap analysis, and we'll get into some things like that a little bit later. But for NIST, there's 5 core functions of NIST, and these haven't changed. So you got the identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And we're going to go into each one of those as to what they do and everything. They're also, as far as risk management goes, it prioritizes and addresses cybersecurity threats. So they've kind of blown out the risk management model in the 2.0 version now. So it's a standardized approach that provides common language for cybersecurity. This is a cybersecurity framework, but it can be used for more than just that as well, because it does have some operational tentacles to it as well. So if we look at NIST 1.0 and 2.0, the differences. So at a high level, this is what the differences are. So in NIST 1.0, it was primarily focused on critical infrastructures in the United States. Basically, it was more infrastructure based. And then now in the 2.0 version, it's applicable mainly to the organizations, regardless of size or industry or worldwide or wherever that business sits. It can be adaptable for both of those, whereas the old 1.0 was just pretty much focused on critical infrastructure. The second thing is in 1.0, there's 5 functions: identify, protect, detect, and respond and recover. And basically what they've done is in the 2.0 version, what they've done is they basically put the 6th function in there, which is governance. And I'll show you how that actually blows out, because governance is actually in the old one, but it's under the identify function. So what they did is they gave governance a little more controls and so now you have identify, protect, detect, respond, recover, and now govern. So governance is the glue that brings it all together. So as far as categories go, they haven't really changed that much. In 1.0 version, there's 23 categories and 108 controls. Well, in 2.0, there's 24 categories and 108 controls. Basically, what they've done is that 24th category is based on adding the governance function in there. So there really isn't much change there. But as far as flexibility goes, the 1.0 version has less flexibility. And what I've found in this is I've had to, when I'm implementing 1.0, I've had to actually customize it so much where I've had to add other frameworks in there. And I've talked in some of my previous videos about you can mix frameworks together to make one framework, which is not uncommon. But you had to do that more with NIST because in 1.0, it wasn't really that adaptable for organizations and my clients and that. So I had to actually do some workarounds and everything to get it to adapt to my clients' needs and everything. But in the flexibility, as far as the 2.0, it's more flexible, it's more adaptable, it has more guidance, it tells you, pretty much more specifically how to implement the framework, whereas in 1.0, it wasn't very, it was descriptive, but it was not as descriptive as 2.0. So some other enhancements that are there is they expanded the supply chain risk management guidance. So risk management has more of a role in here. And as I mentioned earlier, you have the governance arm now, and governance now has its own quadrant, and it's the glue that brings everything together, which is the way it should be, because it shouldn't, I don't feel it should have sat under identify under that quadrant. So governance is now the one of the main, it's the primary arm of NIST 2.0, and then it glues all these other frameworks or all these other quadrants together. There's a clarification of the framework tiers. It's a lot more clarified now in the profile, and then it aligns with other NIST guidance as well, such as the risk management framework, and then also the SP framework, which is a little bit more detailed. So NIST 2.0 is more, it's more comprehensive and adaptable than the 1.0 version, and it has a broader range of guidance for organizations, and it's a little bit easier to implement, I believe. So, but again, when you're implementing your framework, any kind of framework, you definitely want to get the temperature of your organization and get define whatever that risk universe is. And so going further into this, there's the 5 core functions. So just to kind of get a brief overview of those 5 core functions, you have the identify. Identify is really about knowing all your assets and the risks that are around them. So you definitely want to take an inventory of all your assets, whether you have a scanning tool or anything like that scans the assets to know what you have in your environment. Some people and some organizations have to do this manually. The protect arm is more about implementing security measures. It goes around, protecting all the assets in the environment and all the systems and applications and the environment in general. And then you have the detect, which is the monitoring arm. This is a continuous monitoring of threats or anything like that. And then respond and react is really around incident management. And so this basically looks at the risk around your incident management program. And then recover is more on the restoration of systems back to normal operations. So this is more of the DR, BCP, and what I mean by that is defining those acronyms. DR is disaster recovery, and BCP is business continuity planning. And BCP is more around the manual process of what you do when you're down. What manual processes are you going to do to keep your business running? Whereas the disaster recovery is more of the technology that it's going to take to get that environment back up and running as normal. So NIST 1.0, this is what the NIST 1.0 looks like, and you'll see the differences here. So governance used to sit right up under identify here, but it's no longer there. It's actually over the whole set of quadrants right here, which is where it should be, because I usually would have a challenge just trying to find out what the governance controls should be, and as far as NIST goes, and I often had to use a lot of different frameworks to put that together. But this is the 1.0 framework, which I've definitely used a lot. And then the 2.0 framework has the governance arm here. There's controls within there. There's specific controls within this governance arm, which makes things a lot easier to decipher where you want to be as far as governance goes. And then you have the identify, and then the protect, detect, respond, and recover. So with all of these right here, what's changed in here is, well, the numbers are different now, but some of the actual functions in here have changed. So you have asset management, risk assessment, and then you have the improvement right there. And you have only 3, just to give you an example, in the identify, whereas here you have 5. And so they made the governance its own arm, and then, took out another one of these. I believe they took out the business environment in there as well. So that is the differences between NIST 1.0 and NIST 2.0. So the categories in this here, if we just go over it just at a high level, in 2.0, it's more comprehensive coverage. It's structured framework. That means that the categories are organized into 5 functions, which the other 1.0 is, but it's a lot more clear and logical. The flexibility is there, so it can be adaptable to fit a variety of organizations, not just one type of organization. And then it's industry adoptable, so you can adopt it to just about any industry. And then the risk management categories are actually broken out better in 2.0, so you can define how you're going to evaluate risks within the organization as well. So overall, NIST is your shield, and it's a good roadmap to use if you don't have a framework in place. It's a good one. It's definitely a good one to start with. There are other frameworks out there like ISO, COBIT, CIS, and but NIST is the NIST CSF, not the SP version, but the CSF, and there is a difference between the two, because the SP is a little bit more stringent and it's a lot more complex. So if your organization does not have a framework, then NIST is a good one. The CSF is a good one to get up and running. So it is definitely a shield, and it's pretty much a comprehensive, easy framework to implement. But again, you have to look at your environment and make sure that it actually is, you've defined your universe and gone through it to make sure that you can fit NIST in and how you would fit it in. So that is basically NIST in a nutshell. And just to give you guys the reference material that we have, I have a book out. It's called Decode, Defend, Disrupt. It's on Amazon. So it's a entry-level guide for cybersecurity, IT audit, and GRC professionals.
Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video. And remember, explain things in a language that people can easily understand. This is RISKMAN. Take care.